Hey guys, welcome to my channel. I'm Lisa and I'll be talking you through this piece I have completed with Faber Castell watercolour pencils. This is the second piece I've completed using watercolour pencils, and the first one was this Phoenix, which is still available on Etsy, and I also have greeting cards of this print as well. I'm such a big fan of the fantasy genre and I really love all of the fantastic beasts, so I got this beautiful sketchbook from the Nerd Forge, so I really wanted to complete a series of fantastic beasts using my new book and my new watercolour pencils. So if you like this video, remember to like and subscribe for more tutorials to come in the future, and I'll be sure to work on some more fantastic beasts in the future. In the description below I'll put a list of the colours that I've used, but I knew from looking at the reference photo that I did want to go a lot lighter and make it a lot more colourful than what it is in the picture. So let's get started drawing the Niffler. Firstly, I just want to start off by saying that I really don't know much about watercolour pencils before I started this project. I'd watched a few videos and had a practice in my sketchbook, but I'm still really new and just taking it slow and learning as I go. So because my background is colour pencil illustrations, I generally work in sections, so I'll do like a section at a time, whereas I think people who paint and do watercolour things sort of do a layer of watercolour or the colour over the whole piece, and then they'll come back to it and start to refine certain areas. That's not the way that I really work, so I'm more comfortable to do sort of sections at a time and then blend it with the water, continue another section, then go back to the first section and work on little bits at a time rather than doing the whole piece and coming back to it. So if there is a right and a wrong way, I feel like this is the wrong way to do it, but this is just the way I feel more comfortable and the way I work with my mediums. So any watercolour pencil people out there who can give me some pointers, that would be great. Also, because I am really brand new at this, I did want to go straight into the face and get that sort of down so I could get a little bit confident with what I'm doing before I started to work on all of the fur on the back, because I knew that would be quite tricky. I also will be honest here and let you know that I did go into the eyes with my polychromos set because I knew that I didn't want the colour to run in there if I did put water on it, and also because I'm just more comfortable doing eyes with the polychromos because I can get sort of a sharper point with those ones, but for the rest of it I did use the watercolour pencils. Another thing I did, which I'm not sure is correct when it comes to watercolour pencils, is go in and put down a base layer. So I did go in with the warm grey 2 and put down a base on the face and also on the head, and then went in with the burnt ochre raw umber light yellow glaze on the nose, and then on the head I went in with I wrote down sky blue, but I know that it's light ultramarine because there's no sky blue in that set. And then once I had a couple of layers down, I would then go in with my brush and wet it all down with the water. So I started by going in and doing the nose, and then waited for that to dry, and then went in and did the base on the head, waited for that to dry, and while I was waiting for each of them to dry I would work on the other side. And then when moving on to the back of the Niffler, I went in and put down a base layer and then just started to work on sections at a time, blending with the water, and while I'm waiting for that section to dry I'll go on to another section. When working on the back and the head of the Niffler, I sort of use the same technique as what you would for scales or feathers, which is you just sort of go in and put the shapes where you can see the darkest areas, and then go in and do a light layer over that, and then you can see where these sort of hairs come apart. It is really hard to sort of see what this is because it kind of looks like fur, it kind of looks like scales, so I was trying to just do a mixture of both and making sure to blend them all into each other really well. So when it came to using the brush and wetting the paper down, I did find that I needed a lot of colour built up on the page to sort of get it looking nice and bright. And also when you're using your brush, if you use too much water it will dilute the colour, so if you want a really dark colour or a really punchy colour, use less water on your brush and more pencil on the page, because the more water that you have the more diluted the colour will be and it won't be as bright. But I did find it is very easy to go over with extra layers, so if you're not getting it dark enough, just wait for it to dry, go back over with your pencils and then blend it again with the water. I think most of these sections I only did about 2 layers, but I would do the base layer, blend it, do the next layer and then blend it, and then I would go over again with the watercolor pencils into the darker sections. And if I felt like it still needed a little bit of blending, I would blend it down, but generally not with the water. I would just use a pencil to make it darker. One of the really good techniques I learnt from watching some of the watercolor pencil videos was that you can just get your brush and put it on the end of your pencil when it's wet, and it will make the pencil go onto your brush and you can just use it like a paintbrush. So I found this was really good when you're wanting to add in sort of light sections over the darker sections. So I went in with the white pencil on the brush and put in all of the highlight areas sort of on the back and in the scale sort of fur that you can see. So I think that Niffler feet are going to go up there with the difficulty of bird feet. Oh my goodness, these were tricky because they look so odd and just so strange looking. So it took me a little while to get the colors correct in there. And you can see around the edge of the page I've also put some masking tape down so that I get a really nice crisp edge. Even though it is in a notebook, I do sort of want to make it look a little bit neat and professional. So you can see also on the page that I'm leaning on, I did use that as a swatch sheet so that I could go in and see what colours would appear when I mix them together. So I mixed some of the warm greys with the blues and the oranges to see sort of what colours it would make when I wet it, because I wasn't really sure which colours you'd get in the end. So for the time turner, the colours I used was the light yellow glaze, dark Naples ochre, dark cadmium yellow, burnt sienna, and then in some of the darker areas I would have added some of the warm grey 5 and the black just to do some of the highlights. And then finally towards the end I knew that I wanted to make sort of a border and make it look a little bit watercolour and a bit fantasy. So I started to use the warm grey 2 to build the shadow under the feet, and then all of the same colours that I've used in the piece, I wanted to use this in the shadow and around the Niffler. So underneath him I used all of the blues, purples and yellow tones, and then above as you go out to the side and up to the top I used a lot of the greys, yellows and really light blues and purples to blend it out a little bit. One of the main things I was really excited about doing with this was splattering little drops around the Niffler and around the time turner as well. So to do that I just loaded my pencil up with water, rubbed it on some of the pencils and then covered my Niffler with the tracing paper so it wouldn't get on the actual Niffler, and then just flicked it onto the paper. I did a few little practice runs before I went in and did it on the piece though. So I think I need to experiment with a couple of different tapes because this one didn't come off very well and it took some of the paper with it. So I might try a different sort of tape for the next piece. But I really hope that you like this video. I hope you like my Niffler. Please like and subscribe if you want to see more fantastic beasts in the future. And this is the final result. Keep drawing, guys. Bye.